It's always amazing to think that that first reading we heard today is the beginning of the first letter of St. Paul to the Thessalonians. It's only 18 years after the death and resurrection of the Lord. So it's the earliest, the oldest part of the New Testament, and it's almost 2,000 years old. And we're privileged to hear it. And in the gospel today, I think the advice is practice what you preach to the scribes and the Pharisees. We hear these challenging words of Jesus. Yesterday, enter through the narrow gate, and then today, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees. In the book of Revelation, the risen Lord says, those whom I love, I reprove and chasten. And that's what he is always trying to do to us and to the scribes and Pharisees, to call us to integrity of life. I came across a story recently of a seminarian who gave his life to save others. His name is Jason Marshall. He was on a bus this past June traveling to Santa Fe, New Mexico from a meeting of Catholic youth in Denver. And according to the witnesses, after the driver went into distress and lost control, Jason leaped up from his seat to grab the steering wheel and prevent a major disaster and to save 13 other people, especially the 10 teens that were on the bus with them. Jason lost his life in the accident. That he would have sacrificed his life was no surprise to his mother. She said, Diane, Jason never walked away from any incident if he could help. His classmate in the seminary, Matthew Gubensky, fellow seminarian, he said, Jason had a way of making everyone feel listened to and loved. He said, you hear stories about St. John Bosco, how every one of the boys in the oratory felt like they were the favorite of St. John Bosco. He said, Jason was always ready to listen and really get you inspired and help you with whatever way that you needed to be helped. He said, I didn't realize it until after the crash that he had done that for so many other people besides me. One thing that Jason would get really fired up about, this classmate of his said, was the need for good men as priests. He said, no matter where it started, the conversation would always point to, it would always come to a point in which he would say, he would get fired up and he'd say, priests have to be men. They have to be ready. They have to be shepherds. They have to be ready to stand up and potentially to lay down their lives for others. Jason Marshall, this seminarian, inspired his fellow seminarians. He was usually the first one in the chapel and the last one to leave. He loved people. His classmates are emulating him now and trying to do for other people what they saw Jason doing. His classmate Gubensky said, young students he was teaching recently in catechism class, they asked him, when should we start discerning God's will in our lives? And he said, right now. You have to ask God right now, what is it you want from me, God? It takes a dedicated family, not perfect, but dedicated, to produce a person like Jason Marshall, to produce good priests, good sisters, good married couples, and good dedicated single people. All of us, let us practice what we preach.